A very good morning. Thank you for joining us today on the coffee break. It's the 12th of June 2021. It's a Saturday morning right here. It's a shiny, bright morning, and it's the coffee break. This is a show whereby we talk about coffee. Do you want to know about the information regarding coffee? Do you want to know how to make a cup of coffee at home, in a coffee shop? Do you want to get the first hands-on information about coffee? This is a show for you, and my name is Amon Mukisa. Today on House of Talent TV. In the studio today with me, I'm with the big man himself and a certain gentleman who you get to know, where we shall be talking about a certain topic in regards to coffee training, because we have very many students of coffee who are coming out to make us coffee for us people who go to coffee shops. And we shall have that conversation later on on the show. But today, in the studio with me, I'm with one and only Emma. What's up, man?
I'm okay, Amon. How are you doing?
I'm alright. Welcome to the show. It's been a while since you've been on the show.
It's been a while. I've been hiding.
What have you been?
Been looking for money in Kampala.
So you got the time, man?
No, money is hiding. Things are hard.
Things are hard, but you're looking for money. So we should expect like a number of cups of coffee around here on the table.
We're actually working on it. We need cups for this show in particular. You know,
I
think we should even put our names on those cups.
Hello, what's good?
Nothing much. It's good to have Pius with us in the studio today. We want to get to know more about him here. But before we get into that, I remember the first time I went into a coffee shop. Okay, the first cup of coffee I took was really bitter, and I kept wondering, you know, I always used to watch movies like American movies, and you know, the first thing they do in the morning is, I need my cup of coffee. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, you know what, coffee is tasty, it's sweet, it's all these things, but the first cup I took was bitter. And I'm like, what's the big deal?
so it's a myth. Before we go into this myth, we shall have big man himself, Pius Chisala, introduce himself to the viewers and tell us what he's going to do on the show today. Man, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Amon. Thank you for the great opportunity to be here to speak about coffee and to speak about myself as well. I'm by names of Barista Chisala Pius, CEO KDG Cezanne Coffee, a coffee brand that is youthfully elevating from a very good generational ground of baristas, always concentrating on the profession and coming out with a great passion. And in this, of course, with what I've heard from him, talking about the bitterness of coffee.
Yeah, that's right. Because you know, it's a myth that very many people actually have that coffee is literally bitter whenever you're taking it.
Yeah.
But to me, I think coffee is not this bitter, because when you wake up early in the morning and get that cup of coffee, I think you already have it in mind that okay, coffee is this bitter. I'm going to take bitter coffee. That's regardless, I don't have what to do. Let me just take.
Yeah, it depends on your first experience with it. Yeah, like I said, me went into a coffee shop, got a bitter one. Yeah?
Didn't you hear it from someone that coffee is bitter?
No,
Oh,
me I didn't hear it. Me I just went and tasted the coffee, and for me it was bitter.
But you're a barista and a trainer, right?
Yes, yes.
Do you believe that coffee is bitter?
I believe coffee is not bitter.
Why is that so?
It is so because depending on how a barista makes a cup or how an individual makes a cup at home, that will always bring out the taste of any type of coffee a person wishes to make. But so also understanding, because we have a word in coffee which we say bittersweet.
Bittersweet, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know whether most of the individuals understand it better, but there is the difference between being bitter and bittersweetness. So in coffee, we truly taste. If you're talking about the bitter taste, next time you should call it bittersweetness, because that all comes from the way a barista makes it, or from an individual making it from a personal direct knowledge and understanding the ratios of what amount of water to put in, and once it's taken strong, what grammage it has to be having, so that it is bringing that great sweetness to the individual.
Yeah, so it sounds like, you know, there's a lot of science behind getting the right taste. Yeah, so like for me, who's at home, you know, I go and buy my kawa coffee or something like that. You know, how can I brew it to make sure that I get, you know, very good taste from it?
Actually, when you're home, you should always look at times when we buy these different packs. For example, if you go or walk into any coffee shop or you order for a kiddie coffee pack, I would say, because I'm also manufacturing coffee as well. Yeah, so the behind it, there is always information, a directive of what amount you should put in, and you take direct. So depending on always what you wish to have, because most of us could never know. Then you go fall into 3 spoons, 4 spoons, giving it a very high gram and putting less water. Yeah, so you should always concentrate on the amount. Like,
so basically what you're saying, a certain Jane out there, a certain fairy out there who's taking this cup of coffee and saying it's bitter is probably the way they are making this
way they are making the coffee. Yeah.
So you're trying to say that if I get this cup of coffee and put a half a spoon of coffee, and maybe 1 cup, that's around 200 or 300 mils of water, I won't have my coffee bitter.
You won't have, because it has a standard ratio of coffee. How they always measure, even people who try to cook food, they measure the water and the food they have to put in so that they get the good quantities. So now in coffee we have a standard ratio of like 1,000 ml goes for 60 grams. Yeah, so with that standard ratio, if you always maintain it, trust me, you'll never
always
have
get a
that
good cup
taste of coffee being bitter. It will always be sweet for you and very well flavored.
Okay, Emma. So now you don't have any other complaint about coffee being bitter.
Yeah, you know, the good thing is he's actually here, and you know, later on in the show, he's actually going to show us how to make a good cup of coffee. So with understanding the ratios, I think I need to put this on my fridge somewhere and be like, you know, this is the ratio for this and this. But it's really good to have you here. We want to get more into your life. Okay. Who is Pius? You've told us about your coffee school and your cafe, but who is Pius? Did you grow up, you know, let's say on a coffee plantation, and you know, one day you said, you know what, when I grow up, I think I should have a cafe, or you had other plans, like kids growing up, you know, some of us wanted to be pilots, some of us wanted to be lawyers. So just walk us through your life, you know, from when you were young till.
Actually, with what you've mentioned, like we always have different ventures for how our future should be. And when you talked of pilot, I always dreamt to be a pilot. And I was studying towards that, looking at the good subjects that would lead you to that. But unfortunately or fortunately, I found myself in coffee. But so Pius is a gentleman who grew up from any normal platform of any youth. And in my growing up, I've never thought of even mixing a coffee cup. A coffee cup, sorry. So, and in that experience, I found out that with the story of coffee, to cut it short, because I was inspired on a certain movie, actually. It was a certain movie. I saw a gentleman, I wish I could really recall the title. And I saw a gentleman making a cup for his boss. So this boss would always wake up and looking for that gentleman. Please make me my first break off of the cup. Please just bring it on. So I really got, how does he do
the nice
art? And I didn't know that it was even in our country. So I grew up, then I took CPA. I was doing a professional course from scratch after my Form 6. I went for CPA. Unfortunately, I didn't complete it because of some hazards. I lost my parents, and
sorry about that.
I had to really switch to something different. So I go to a very significant coffee shop, which you may know even around Chisementi. It was called Endiro.
Looks like
our coffee messiah is right here.
Looks like Endiro has a big stone in the coffee industry.
Very big.
Because literally everyone we've had on the show has gone through Endiro.
Mentioned Endiro
somewhere.
Yeah, and in Endiro there lived a group of very good, intelligent young men in coffee. We became part. There are so many names. I can cut short the likes. There was Saddam, there was Nick, there was Ken, there was Isaac. So these people loved me so much. And according to how I had my story, I had to work my life out. So while I was working, because I didn't start as a barista, I started as a steward. And then I went to waiting. Then from waiting, that's was when I was serving these particular cups with the great art exposure. So I was really so inspired with what they were doing and how they were doing it. So I had to pose a question, how can I join? That's when I joined the steward team. I was washing for them cups and enjoying how they loved the coffee industry, the connection. You know, there is one word that says that there is always togetherness, an act of togetherness in coffee.
Yeah.
It is real, it is very natural, because when you serve a cup to an individual, you get to know more about that person, and he gets to know more about you and what you have in store for the coffee information. So that was how we generated. So I talked to them, they helped me out, they trained me how to make a cup. And then because I had lost out of study, so many hopes, so I felt like I had to push into something. At least I had to come up with a very definite passion that is too unique. So I would like to learn everything. And I used much of my time to learn everything around the coffee industry, around the mixology industry, mixing different things, coming up with great signatures, and all those stories.
So, learning all these things,
Yes.
was it at Endiro or it was at a certain school?
Learning all these things, actually, because after Endiro, I got, because from the generation of Endiro, it was the friends who helped me out. Then I got a pass through to also be one of the baristas who hold stations. But I didn't stay for long because I got greener pastures, as we should say. Someone wrote into me and said, you know, I'd like you to work somewhere, please. And yes, I had to go for greener pastures. So that's when the story started.
I mean, how long did it take for you, like, to learn all the things, like mixing that good cup of coffee? I mean, like, give it to someone and it's like, yeah, this is a good, nice cup of coffee. How long did it take for you?
For getting the basics from the friends, it was just actually it was a couple of months, because I believe I wanted to entail so much in so many things. They had to tell me that, please just learn one thing at a time. So after normalizing with that, I found myself getting to do a kahat, and that was the first. Then I got so much inspired that I had to look at more inspiring videos on YouTube and to see how best I come with them. So in the process of going from Endiro to another job, that's when I started inventing more into coffee, and I came around very great baristas. One of the champions, that's Sochen Simon. So he was one of my friends who helped to uplift me in the stories of coffee, like understanding the crop to cup details and knowing everything into coffee.
Let me ask, to be a good barista, do you have to be knowing all this kind of information from cup, from tree to cup?
Yes, I believe yes.
Should be necessary.
Should be a necessary thing. It is very, very necessary.
Because I could be someone who can make a cup of coffee and it comes out really good, but I don't know this information. Do I qualify to be a good barista?
You qualify to be a barista. Who is having practical knowledge. That's how I can define you. Because I can't degrade you. Something at least. But being detailed is much more better, because you walk into someone who is so much interested in coffee and would like to know more details about the good taste of a cup. So when you're ignorant,
it's a harder thing. It's a harder thing to do.
It will be a very different conversation then. So I truly believe it's very great to have all the skills as a barista and to understand the knowledge, because even in the coffee value addition chain, we have the barista as the last person who gives the cup to the consumer. So I believe you must be knowing the backbone. Yes.
Yes. Before you went to look for those greener pastures after the short training, were there some schools that used to train these baristas, like within Uganda?
There were no schools by that time.
Is that the reason why you never went to a certain school and you went to this coffee shop and picked the passion and then you ended up making coffee?
Actually, yes, it was there was no school completely, but there was an organization, of course, which is UCDA, and it was helping to polish. You could go there and you polish your skills, but there was nothing as there is a barista school somewhere training. So because the old barista school thing started in, I think, 2017, around there.
Wow.
So it's still very young.
I really
Still
thought,
very
I really
young.
thought the barista schools were there like even time of
Even when they make very good research about some schools, they truly started by
Around
that time.
that time, yeah.
Because most of the institutions had the capacity to train, but they thought that maybe youths were not interested into the activity, or the country was totally ignorant. So that's when they started pushing for that.
Wasn't that right? People weren't ignorant about making coffee. I think people used to know that coffee is just a crop, but they never used to know that coffee can have this beverage right here.
It was more like how you take tea, you know. I just make a cup of tea and take it.
So they're just using it because you find even there are some people who grow coffee when they have never tasted the cup of their bean. Yeah, so it's very common. That was the level of ignorance. Like they would never wish that, hey, my coffee has this type of sweetness. When I roast it, I get this scent. It could never happen to most of the people. But I think with the generation of the schools, it has brought a very big irony, because we don't have one school, it's not the academy only. There are other schools that are doing the same concept. And in all respect to all the schools, of course, they have to promote the goodness of the barista.
Tell us more about the KD Academy. How did you come to hatch that idea, and how did you come to put it into establishment?
When was that light bulb moment? You say, you know what, I think I just need to start a school.
Actually, while I was working to these different hotels, I found out that I was helping my friends to learn. Yes, because someone would walk into you, I would like to learn this, and then you help a friend. Then even the inspiration came from different individuals who'd walk into you and they would like you to have the taste of their cup, because when you make something good, it's not only in the cappuccinos, the black coffees we have, but baristas even stands for teas. When you make a good tea, like a very good African tea or a very good African coffee for an individual, they would walk into you. You could never know that that person had a hotel or a coffee shop somewhere. So walks into you and tells you, this is a very nice cup, I would like you to make it at my hotel. Can you please train these guys to make such a cup? So that's when it became so much inspiring, walking to this hotel to train different individuals, and they get the skill, they start making very good tasty coffee, they appreciate your presence, you go to another, and with the help of the friends, because I remember I was in a group of some friends, whereby I saw different youths diverting because of not having a job. You see someone could work very well, but he doesn't have any skill and he can't get any job. And someone is calling you outside there, please, do you have any barista? Can you help me with a friend who knows how to make coffee like you? So I found out that, what if I help a friend? What will happen?
That's true.
There could be some greater changes. So when I helped him, he had to go for a job. He started earning from scratch. I was truly inspired. Then I said, simply means there are so many people out there who wish to have this.
So this student who went a certain job and started earning was your inspiration to start up a school?
He was my greater inspiration.
Emma, what would be your inspiration to start up something like in coffee business?
I mean, just like you said, the industry is still young. Okay, I mean, if you have schools that started in 2017, that's like a newborn baby, basically. Okay, and just the passion that you have for something always drives you to, you know, to put it out there. Like, for example, I play basketball, you know, so one day I say, you know what, I can't keep these skills only with me. I need to, pass on these skills to other people, just like he did. Okay, so just that passion and that desire to make to make sure that this industry actually grows, because now for them this is a baby that is in their hands.
Yeah.
Okay, so if the coffee industry somewhere breaks down, now we have to look back to what? The fathers, the messiahs like you. Yeah. So the passion and basically the desire would drive you to set up a school, and let someone teach someone else who will teach someone else,
But would you go to this school if at all you were given a chance to learn coffee?
I'm actually thinking about going to the school.
Alright guys, today's topic, later on in the show, we're going to be talking about the relevancy of coffee schools in Uganda. Is this training good enough and deserving for these people who go to these schools? Because they end up into our coffee shops and they make these beverages, and we end up enjoying them and we give feedback. Is this a bad beverage or a good beverage?
Yeah.
So that's the conversation today. We're going to have get down to our Facebook page, that's at House of Talent Uganda. Give us what you think. Are these schools relevant or we don't need them at all? Like, for example, Bias had Kid Juice and Coffee Academy. It trains people, and is the right person we have on the show to talk about the relevancy of coffee training schools in Uganda. But then, before that, we're also going to make some beverages for you, and we're going to be making an AeroPress for you guys. I know we've made it before, but Bias is here to give us a very detailed tutorial about an AeroPress. How you do make an AeroPress at home, how do you get it, how do you order it in a coffee shop when you join a coffee shop. But let's go for a short commercial break, and then when you come back, we shall be talking about that.
Welcome to this year's edition of Doa Doa 2021.
We have revived the King's Entenga music.
I started playing music when I was 9 years old in 1945, and up to today I'm still learning it.
the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince.
Welcome to this year's edition of Doa Doa 2021.
We have revived the King's Entenga music.
I started playing music when I was 9 years old in 1945, and up to today, I'm still learning it.